continue with our discussion of market value creation, specifically the product management aspect of that. One aspect of product management is to develop new products. Starbucks came out with a machine to compete with the Keurig coffee machine recently. The thing of it is, not all new products are totally new. Some of them are what we would call copies of competitor products. So innovations are totally new product offerings. Like when Apple came out with the iPad originally, or the Apple TV when it was first introduced. Sometimes we have products that are imitations of competitor products, like Google's Chromecast, which is somewhat of an imitation of the Apple TV concept. Other new products are simply adaptations of existing products, like the iPad mini versus the traditional iPad. So my question for you, this new Starbucks Verismo, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, coffee machine is really what? An innovation, an imitation, or an adaptation? It's probably an imitation of the Keurig coffee machine. Additionally, we can look at new product development in terms of how much new learning there is for the consumer. If it's a new product that really has no new learning, maybe it's a new laundry detergent, for example, that they just continue to use as they have previous brands, we would call that a continuous innovation. It's a new product that they can just continuously use. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if there's a new product that requires a totally new consumer process and a totally new consumer learning behavior, we would call this a discontinuous innovation. It's an innovation that they simply can't continue to use. It's a discontinuous innovation. So if there were a new way to wash your clothes other than putting them in a washing machine, for example, that would be a discontinuous innovation. In between these two on the continuum, there's something called a dynamically continuous innovation. This is an innovation that people can continue to use, but it does require some change or some dynamics, some new learning established in the process. So, for example, when a product was come out that you have to put in your laundry to take out dyes to prevent colors from bleeding to other colors, that's something new that we never have done before, was to put an additional product in our washing machine. It's not hard, there's not totally new learning, but there is some new learning involved. So one of the things that we can look at, one of the ways we can look at new products, is the amount of new learning there is for customers. And that will help us decide later to know how to promote those products and move them through introduction. Whenever you have your product, one thing that you have to consider is who is your target market and who are you going to sell it to, so you make sure you're focused on your consumer. Next, one of the most important things that you can do is to differentiate your product. Product differentiation is something that makes your product appear special or unique in the minds of your target market. Remember, your differentiation doesn't have to be a real difference, although it very well can be, but it must be something that must appear to make you special or unique. We'll talk about this more in a minute. But keep in mind, if you see two products side by side and you don't see any difference between those two products, how are you going to judge those products? Price. Without differentiation, You are forced to compete based upon price. And keep in mind that the only competitor that can effectively compete based on price is the one that has the lowest cost of production. So a lot of times when students haven't thought about, or for that matter, not just students, but people in the business world haven't thought about what makes them different, when I ask them, who are you going to sell to and what makes you different? I'm better. Well, what makes you better? Well, they can't define that. So they resort to, well, I'm going to be cheaper. And so instantly they're forcing themselves to compete based upon price because they haven't differentiated yourself. One of the ways that I'm reminded of, a really good marketing agency recommended that their customer pursue the Good Housekeeping seal of approval for their product category. Now the question is, could any of their competitors have pursued the Good Housekeeping seal of approval? Here's a little bit more information about the Good Housekeeping seal, but the bottom line is any of their competitor products could have chosen to go through the rigorous approval process to get the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. However, they were the only one that did. So therefore, that differentiated them in the consumer's minds. What we're talking about is coming up with some way to differentiate your product or make it appear special. Some common ways to differentiate your product are based upon quality. And again, what do we mean by quality? You have to be able to define that. Another way is through features and benefits that you offer. And a third way is through support services. Here's an example of washing machines, and if we determine that, for here you can see that this is based upon features. And based upon features, the Maytag Bravos is the best washing machine. And when they looked at features, they look at a variety of things that the washing machine can possess. So let's say you're a competitor, and this is looking at the category for help and support. Which brands should differentiate themselves based upon this chart on support services? And you can see here that there are 3 brands, all of them the LG brand, that differentiates, that would be good to differentiate themselves based upon support services. Let's look at Maytag, for example. We hear a lot about Maytag and the Maytag repairman and how the Maytag appliance is tough and dependable. I would say that that is probably trying to differentiate them based upon quality, that they're an outstanding quality appliance. They aren't emphasizing price here. They're emphasizing their quality. And if we move on and look at some other Maytag ads, it talks about their refrigerators being built to stand tough through years. Again, that seems to be emphasizing a quality appliance. Here again it says it's the best cleaning in the industry. What means that? It's the best. It seems to be emphasizing quality loads. So it's interesting to talk about differentiation based upon quality. But if we look further at Maytag on their website, look at the top here. It gives information about service and support and how to ask a question, and even have look at the Maytag, they don't call him repairman anymore, but the Maytag man. So this makes me think that they're also trying to differentiate their product based upon what? Quality, design and features, support services. I see support services there. Look at the support that you could get, whether it be delivery, installation, those types of things. Look at these next Maytag ads. It says here, that the oven has two separate ovens, which means that you can get two dishes going at two different temps at one time. And here we look at the Maytag dishwasher that has a 4-blade stainless steel chopper. So you don't have to worry about all the scraps that you put in your dishwasher. Seems to me that they're trying to differentiate based upon what? Quality? Support services? Or how about features here? So just an interesting illustration of how the same brand is trying to differentiate themselves based upon quality, design and features, and support services, yet I see no mention of the price in their ads. So I'm not saying that you have to differentiate all three ways, but it's a good example of how this particular brand has done so. I want to close here by discussing the difference between differentiation and positioning. We discussed positioning in a previous module, and positioning is the image your product holds in consumers' minds. So positioning refers to the consumer and what the consumer thinks about your product. And here's a perceptual map we looked at previously for some drinks. While positioning is the image your product holds in consumers' minds, differentiation is what you do to your product to hopefully then, if your product is well differentiated, create a particular position in consumers' minds. So differentiation is what you do to your product. Positioning is the image the product